Hi, welcome back. My name is Cole.
And I'm Andrew.
And this is CTRL-AC.
CTRL-AC is the podcast where we talk about Control-AC.
1 year later.
Today, the day we're recording this, is June 17th.
2023.
Exactly 1 year ago, June 17th, 2022, on a Friday morning.
We recorded. I was in Port Aransas, I think. Wasn't I for this episode? I was on vacation for this episode.
Were you?
Yeah.
You were. That was our second or third. You were at home though for the first one. We did the whole thing on Riverside. And it was, it was kind of. It wasn't very smooth. It was all virtual. We had these cheap little USB mics.
I'm gonna play a clip from our first episode.
Oh boy,
this is gonna be great.
New APIs. They said the word API like 100 times. New family sharing things, new wallet features, and then this crazy new, we'll call it CarOS feature, which is...
Remember when CarOS was announced? So
look, all I'm going to say is we've gone a very long way.
It was really blown out. That wasn't just the mic. The episode was just incredibly blown out because we had our gain cranked up all the way because we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't have gain. It was just a USB mic. But we edited that thing. We posted it. It was great.
Look at us now.
Yeah. 38 episodes later. Hundreds of listens later. 2 sponsorships later. We have a much better setup. Audio should be much better, which is only going to get better because we have more.
We have more gear on the way.
Equipment stuff on the way to make it sound even better. So we've come a long way.
We have come a long way. But we do have some news. I won't be here for the next 3 episodes.
Cole,
I'll be on the podcast, but I'll be in Florida.
He's going to Florida. He's going to bring his entire recording setup, and we're going to go back and do this virtually. So for the
Riverside
next 3
again.
weeks,
Yay.
It'll be virtual. So we're not going to talk about any tech news today. That may be sad news to some and good news for others.
Right.
We're just going to do a Q&A. So on our Instagrams, we posted Ask Us Questions. Y'all did. We have a few questions we'll go over and just kind of chill for our 1 year anniversary.
I don't remember. What episode was it that we did the Q&A last? It's been a minute.
It was a while ago.
But we're going to do it again. And we have some really good questions this time. So we're going to start with, okay, so this first question is, I typically use DuckDuckGo for searches in an attempt to protect my privacy and avoid data collection about me. Is this the best privacy browser?
So this one I've been asked a lot, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Let's just kind of break this down. So you have 2 things. You have a browser and a search engine. So a browser, for example, is Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, all of that. DuckDuckGo in a sense.
Yeah.
Then you have search engine. The browser is the app you click. The search engine is the website you go to search the web, which is Google, Bing,
it's essentially the
Yahoo.
API that uses the...
Right. So it's really just a couple. Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo kind of have a monopoly on that. Google is the best one. That's pretty objective. Google is the best browser because it knows you. It has an absurd amount of information on you. You can see it all if you go to your Google account. It knows I am a tech enthusiast who likes this car, who was born on this day, who roots for this football team,
who follows these people.
It's crazy. So they have a lot of information on you. If you are not okay with that, you can go to a different browser, such as DuckDuckGo, that will not track as much information. It will not store as much information on you because you're not using Google.
Right. But
however,
isn't DuckDuckGo based around Chromium?
No, it's its own weird thing. DuckDuckGo is not a good browser. It just isn't.
It's like Bing. It's not. It works, but it's not.
It's only fine if you're willing to compromise browser performance and search results for privacy.
Right. It's also very slow.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Another thing, some people use Tor because it's like a built-in VPN.
Right.
With like Tor would be considered a safe browser.
That's the other thing too.
But it's incredibly slow. You sacrifice speed for safety.
If you're on DuckDuckGo, which does not have a built-in VPN, and you go to a website, the website can still see you.
Yeah.
The website still knows you're looking at this on a phone. You're in this approximate location.
Yeah, it still gets all of the metadata from you.
It has all of the information.
But DuckDuckGo itself doesn't collect that information.
So by using
supposedly.
DuckDuckGo, the only thing you're doing is keeping a tech company like Google from having that information on you.
Right.
Which is worth it to some people.
If you go to youtube.com.
Right. Google has so much of my information. It's at the point where it's just not worth it to try and...
Right.
Like, I just want the best search result, so I guess I'm willing to compromise a little, but they have way too much of our data.
I agree.
Which is a problem. And, I mean, go antitrust lawsuits for Google to try and get them to not keep all that. But is it the best privacy browser is the question? I mean, no.
No. You can use Tor. Brave is technically better.
Tor is ridiculously slow. That's what people use to browse the dark web because it's...
Which is bad.
So secure. It's not consumer grade, really.
No, it's not.
So is DuckDuckGo the best for most people as a private browser? Sure. The best way to...
Actually, I'm going to say Brave.
Really?
Because Brave is, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's based on the Chromium engine, but it blocks the trackers.
Also, if you're using DuckDuckGo on a phone, you really don't need to use the DuckDuckGo app, which is really, really bad. What you can do is you go to Safari, your app. Safari has built-in tracker protection. It hides your IP automatically.
Okay, that's what Brave is. It's built on WebKit on iOS.
Okay, so Brave is like Safari, but Safari has a built-in VPN, which you can do in your iCloud settings, and it keeps trackers from tracking you.
Which is good.
And it's actually, by those two measures, a safer browser than DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
And for the search engine in Safari, just use DuckDuckGo. So open Safari, go to duckduckgo.com, do your search. It's far better than the actual DuckDuckGo app, and it actually gives you more privacy. So long answer, is it the best privacy browser for most people? Sure, that and Brave.
Okay.
Second question kind of goes with it. If I want to use Apple Maps or Google Maps, which is better for privacy and accuracy? Has Apple Maps caught up to Google Maps?
Whoa, hold on. Okay. Google Maps is objectively terrible.
Now, yes. So if we rewind 6 years, even 5 years, Apple Maps was just a joke that people had.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do? Use Apple Maps? Get stranded in the desert? It was just a joke.
But they fixed it very well.
This is what happens when you have a monopoly on something. You lose the motivation to make it better. That's what Google did. They just stopped making Google Maps better. And around iOS 13, Apple Maps just started getting really good.
Yeah, like now I downloaded Google Maps because somebody sent me an address, but it wouldn't open unless it was in Google Maps because it was like the link to the address or whatever. So Google address for one is annoying because of that proprietary system. And also, we talked about it a while ago, my grandma got a Pixel 7 and I was driving, right? We have the maps up on her Android Auto screen, whatever. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
Like its directions, like its voiceover directions are right as you're doing the direction.
Apple Maps sounds better. Apple Maps looks so much better.
Oh, way better.
The 3D view on Apple Maps is really incredible. If you plop yourself down in San Francisco or Paris and you just go into 3D mode and look around, the detail is unbelievable.
It's really good.
The voice, like everything about Apple Maps is more fluid.
It's just a better experience.
It's a better experience. So yes, it has caught up. I think it's surpassed it by a lot 100%. Now. Also, my favorite feature about Apple Maps, and maybe Google Maps does this, is when I'm driving, Apple Maps will say, go past this light, and then at the next one, turn right. Whereas Google Maps just says, turn right at the light. And you're like, is it the one I'm 100 feet away from, or is it the next one? And Apple Maps, like, lane sign thing to tell you which lane, like, every little thing about it is better. So this one's asking, I have an 11 Pro Max. Should I upgrade to a 14 Pro Max?
And why?
Okay. Depends on you, honestly.
Yeah. The 11 Pro Max, I've got it. It's It's fine. Like, it's a good phone. The battery life is enough to last a whole day. Like, my screen time average, I think the daily average is 5 hours and 12 minutes.
Mm.
And if I see the battery, you can see that on screen time, right? Or is that different?
That's different.
So if I go to battery.
What's your health at after a couple of years?
Battery health, we've had this phone since it came out.
Okay.
And we just upgraded, hence the question. It's at 83.
Okay.
So it's not great, but it's not bad.
Every upgrade question just depends on the person.
Right.
Like, we are the type of people to use a 13 Pro Max, which is almost 2 years old, and notice a difference. Like, notice that it feels slower or something like that.
Some people do. Like, my dad noticed when his iPhone 7 started getting slow, so he upgraded to the 10.
Yeah, which is only that's a 1 year difference.
2? 7, 8, 10?
8 and 10 came out in 2017.
Both?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because 10 was a one more thing.
That's right.
So yeah, some people can notice the difference year over year.
Yeah.
Some people have an 8 plus right now because they like the home button and it's fine. So it honestly just depends on you. Me personally, yeah, I would upgrade.
And it depends on your usage too, because like me and Andrew avidly use our phones for news and just like
for our job.
We use it as a phone hours a day, right? But some people use it just for texting, calling, and maps.
So for you, not really. You don't need to.
Right. Like the person who asked this question, no. You didn't need to upgrade your phone.
You don't need to upgrade.
Like you'll notice the nice upgrade. You'll notice the camera's better. Yeah. You'll notice the battery life is substantially better. The screen is better. It's a bigger phone comparatively, but it just depends on you and your preference. If you think your phone is getting slow and you need a better battery, or you want the 120 hertz refresh rate compared to the 60, then yeah.
This one is from Ben. He's asking, what is the phone with the best camera quality? This this is a multi-part answer. Best camera quality overall, 14 Pro Max. And I'll explain why.
But also, it's borderline subjective.
So here's the thing. Every phone camera now looks almost identical. They're all to the point. They're all really, really good. So you have a 14 Pro Max. It is the best overall camera system. So if you only take still photos, Pixel 7 Pro is going to give you slightly better looking still photos. If you take night photos only, S23 Ultra may give you slightly better night photos.
Right.
Where the iPhone destroys the competition is video. There's no better video than video from an iPhone.
100%.
But also iPhone night mode and still photos are still really good. They're just, you really have to pixel peep.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to post-processing too.
Yeah, every year, these...
Like, pretty much all of the phone's cameras are, since, like, the 11 have been, like, amazing. But it's the post-processing is where it struggles on some things because...
Well, that's what improves every year to make it...
Yeah, that's what they improve. Because the camera hasn't really changed. Like, the sensor is still the same size, isn't it? Since, like, 13 to 14, the sensor is still the same size.
14 Pro has 48 megapixel main.
And the 13 Pro had what?
12. They've had 12 since the iPhone 6.
Yeah. And if you take an iPhone 6 picture with the 12 megapixel camera and then a
13 Pro, you'll notice a huge difference.
Obviously, because it's the post-processing from the different generations of iOS and the different chips inside. But
that's why you can take a photo with a 14 Pro Max which has a 48 megapixel sensor, and then a photo with an S23 Ultra, which is a 200 megapixel sensor, and the iPhone will look better. It comes down to just post-processing. So overall, 14 Pro Max is the best overall camera system. Okay, so Aaron is asking, you guys talk about EVs all the time. Would you actually buy one?
Okay. My answer is no.
We're both car guys, as a disclosure.
We're both gasoline V8 loving human beings on the planet. But I will acknowledge the fact that EVs are good cars. A lot of them are great cars to have. Like the Polestar is a really comfortable car. The Kia EV6 is a good range car.
They're fantastic cars. If the problem is, and this is something that reviewers talk about a lot, EVs do not have character.
Right.
There is no different feel between a Porsche Taycan and a Model S Plaid.
Right.
There's no driving different.
Because it's the same.
There is going to be a different because it's a portion of Tesla.
Obviously.
But there's no character between models. You can't really have different motors like you have different engines.
Yeah, like of course you can quote unquote upgrade the motors, but really it's not going to do much, especially with the high end cars already, because they have very high torque motors in them. So driving all electric cars feel the same. It's just a drivetrain with two little motors that don't make sound. Big motors.
All EVs are just heavy cars, and as soon as you get them around the corner on a track, you hammer the throttle and it just flies.
Right.
But it's the same. They're really, really fast. And that's it.
Yeah.
I am willing to take the hit in 0 to 60 times for an actual sound and feel of a gasoline
Like the
car.
driving experience of a gas car is nothing like an EV.
Yes.
And also, we're going to think the economic side here.
Yes.
The amount of factories and stuff that it takes to make the batteries.
Right.
And
if you care about the environment,
yeah,
I mean,
then you're not actually helping. You're probably making things worse.
Right.
Because what do you do with the batteries? You can't recycle them. We can't just send them somewhere. We can't just drop them in the ocean. They sit places. It's like the carbon fiber wings from propellers, right? Like they don't do anything. You can't recycle them. There's nothing you can do about it. But with gasoline, obviously it has carbon emissions, which is a problem, but it's essentially never ending.
We really like tech too, and EVs have an insane amount of tech in the cars. And for a daily commuter car, I think an EV would be great. They're completely
but also
silent. They're
with the amount of
ridiculously
tech that it
fast.
has, there's not a lot a mechanic can do.
Yeah, they're good. They're very boring
Chill cars that you don't have fun in. Like
I miss hearing engine feedback. When I push on the pedal, I want to hear the noise after I just pushed on the pedal. And BMW i7 will pipe in that's not right. You don't pipe in engine noise. Hans Zimmer symphony noises or whatever that thing does.
The Daytona EV.
Yeah, all that. Oh, that's so bad. The fake exhaust.
At least they thought of it though.
But it sounds terrible.
It's bad, but at least they thought of it.
I guess.
Maybe if that gets good in the next decade or two, maybe.
Yeah.
But there'll be nothing like going to the gas station to fill up your car with gas.
I will say gas stations are pretty terrible.
No, I love gas stations.
They're sketchy.
Every place is sketchy.
Well, yeah, but like gas stations are especially
Most
sketchy.
of the charging places are in like malls where people get shot.
No, all the Tesla charging stations are in nice areas, and they're like all lit, and
That's fair.
It's like a well-maintained thing. So not having to go to a gas station, that's a fair upside. But
for him.
I don't like the not having character part of the car.
Yeah, because you can do essentially anything to a gas-powered car, especially earlier, like early 2000s, early 90s, early 80s, but pretty much anything before 2010s. Because after the 2010s hit, everything got electronics, like lots of electronics. Everything is based around the electronics. So if you were to like say replace the brakes or the coilovers or like a wiring harness in an EV, it would be much more difficult because you have to reprogram the ECU because it's tuned. I don't want to say tuned, but it's programmed to accommodate the motors to the way the suspensions are, the weight of the suspension, the power of the brakes, to accommodate when to like turn the motors off, when to slow them down. You can't do that on an EV.
Right.
As easily as you can do it on a gas car, because a gas car is just pedal, vroom, drivetrain, wheel spin, right?
And don't get us wrong, we like a lot of EVs.
Oh, 100%. Like Model S Plaid is beautiful.
Rivian R1T.
R1T is
fantastic
beautiful.
car.
Lucid Air.
I would miss the gas engine.
Yeah.
To be fair, we've never dailied an electric car.
I'm sure it would be nice.
Maybe that'll change.
The Taycan.
What I think the sweet spot is the Corvette E-Ray route. Half electric, half gas.
Where you can just switch.
Where you have the insane acceleration and efficiency of the motor,
or
but
like
it also has a V8.
Or like the Prius Prime. No, okay, hear me out. Listen, it has 400 miles of range on the gas or around 50 miles of range on the electric motor. So like if you daily commute like 10 miles every day.
Yeah. I would be fine with a hybrid.
Yeah.
A hybrid with a big beefy engine
that you can switch between instead of them both working in tandem.
That's what I'd be fine with. I'd be fine with an E-Ray. The 2025 M5 is supposed to be half hybrid, half gas. And that's a 4-door BMW sedan that's supposed to have like 750 horsepower, 2.10 to 60. Like,
in tandem or separate?
Like, together.
Yeah.
So
that's another plus with hybrids, is because they work together to produce more torque, and more torque equals more speed.
Yeah.
More faster.
And hybrids have been around for a while. Like 918 Spider, legendary car. It's a hybrid.
Because it lets you put in more power.
Yeah. It takes off with the electric motor, and then that engine kicks in and pulls you the rest of the way.
Right.
It's great.
Or if they can work together in a dual gear system to where they're both pushing, like, you floor it.
Yeah.
And both work together at the same time. Like, it's a good idea, and it's a good way to design a car.
Yeah, so I would take a hybrid like that.
100%.
Fully electric, maybe a little while longer.
Yeah. I said once that, like, charging stations get less proprietary. They're everywhere, just like gas stations. I've got, like, 3 1/4 mile from my house apart from each other.
Yeah.
Like, once charging gets better and range gets better and comfort gets a little bit better, because isn't that one of the problems with the Teslas? Like, they're not super comfortable.
Quality control is the problem.
Quality control. Just stuff like that. Once they figure out the problem, because it's like when they designed the first car, right?
Yeah.
Like 30 miles an hour top speed. And since then, they've gotten obviously better. Like, cars have some cars have like 1,000 miles of range.
Right.
And then, yeah, it's just, it needs to be refined.
So the question is, we'll see. If you ask us the question in 10 years, maybe it'll be yes.
Yeah, maybe we'll both have the Taycan 9 or something.
Oh, boy. We will see. Good question.
Good question.
And Ben has a second question. Do you think Apple listens to its customers?
Sometimes. Rarely, but sometimes.
This is a very interesting one because it changed 1 year. So up until 2019, during the Tim Cook era, I'd say no. Up until 2019. The MacBooks from 2016 to 2019 were the dark age of MacBooks. Butterfly keyboard, ridiculously hot.
Dual core i5s.
They just weren't good. The iPhones were crazy thin. They didn't have good battery life. The cameras weren't good. They were just bad.
Pretty much.
It was a dark age for Apple.
They weren't bad. They just
they
weren't great.
Bad, but in 2019, iPhone 11 Pro Max came out, and that made the phone thicker. The cameras were the best in class. Battery life was best in class. It was really good. AirPods Pro came out with noise cancellation and incredible sound. You had the 16-inch MacBook Pro that came out with a non-butterfly keyboard, better thermals, thinner bezels, and that was the year they kind of started to listen to people. And over the next couple years, with the M chip, with the iPhones, you could tell that they were listening to customer feedback. They were implementing features that people wanted, and they've gone from fine tech to industry leading in every single class.
Yeah.
From AirPods to Apple Watch to iPad to Mac, every single class, industry leading products. So yes, they do listen to their customers now, and that started in 2019. Luc Boursier asks, is there an AI that is able to help you with stocks?
Yes, but it's illegal.
AI models like ChatGPT and stuff usually don't have access to current information, and it also goes against their ethics thing, because if you ask about it, it says I'm not able to provide financial advice.
But Dan,
there are workarounds for it.
Me and Andrew did this a couple weeks ago, and it's really scuffed, but it
try
does
and
work.
Jailbreak ChatGPT, which has worked, but yes, there are AI models.
But it's very unethical.
They're not consumer
exactly
grade.
Yeah, they're not exactly legal either.
You can't just get access to them. You probably have to build them.
Yeah, like you have to build your model. Yeah, it's complicated.
This one is good. If someone gave you a Vision Pro, Apple, you're still free to send us one.
Yeah.
How would you use it as your daily? What are the benefits of using that mode of tech versus what we already have now?
Okay. I am a sucker for VR. Like, anything VR, I'm just like, bet.
But
right?
Apple said this is not VR. It's spatial computing, Cole.
You're right. But the virtual reality capabilities of it are ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, this is an insane piece of tech. And I feel like I would use this for workflow. Because
I would sure try.
I've wanted to get into like 3D modeling and stuff for a little while. And I like do random projects and stuff where I need to 3D design something, but like I can't visualize it, right? Like, I can't visualize it on a 3D plane on a screen, like on a 2D screen, emulating a 3D plane. Like, that's hard for me as a person to visualize, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people can agree with that.
Yeah.
So this would be great for something like SolidWorks, where you can design something in Blender, import it, or design something in SolidWorks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And take what you're, and like make a 3D scan of what you're going to put it on and put it into SolidWorks with it and see how and where it can fit on it and move it around like as you need.
Right.
Like, this has a lot of capabilities. We talked about it last episode. I think we went a little bit of a rabbit hole down. But I would use it for stuff like that. I would probably use it for gaming. Like, if they open up API to Windows and stuff to where you can like plug it in directly to a computer.
Okay.
Like, if they open it up to the opportunities that they could, which would help open up a lot of doors for them too.
Yeah.
Because if they could semi-marketing as a gaming capable device, like app, like third-party gaming, like if they use their, I don't know if the charging cable sends data or not, but if it does, you could plug that into a computer like a Rift or an Oculus.
Or if there was a Mac adapter that came out for it.
But you can't game on a Mac. So you'd have to make...
How dare you? DirectX 12.
Sorry.
Metal 3.
Right, a game porting API. No, but for a game, I feel like Gran Turismo, F1, Forza, games like that, if Apple could either...
X-Plane, Microsoft Flight Simulator,
right.
That'd be crazy.
If finally, after all these years, Apple could partner with Microsoft just one last time.
Imagine.
One last time
they
to
did
make this.
For Windows 11.
That's right. But one last time, Apple. If they could open to gaming, that's what I would use it for.
Microsoft Flight Simulator on Vision Pro. You have M2 in there.
Exactly. So it could run it.
The question is, how would you use it as your daily? And I don't think I would. I would still want my phone and computer with me. And we talked about this in our last... If you haven't listened to our Vision Pro recap last week, definitely listen to that. But we kind of said we would use this for entertainment and content consumption rather than like replacing our phone. But good question.
That is a good question. And also, media consumption.
Yeah.
Like movies, gaming if it comes to it. And the small portion of people that maybe I could do 3D design and just visualizing stuff like that.
Building on the computer one, if computers seem to be getting smaller, why do graphics cards seem to be getting larger in physical size? Is this larger for tech purposes or just for show?
Okay, 2 parts to this question. I'm going to answer both, right? Chips aren't necessarily getting smaller. If you pull the die, or not the die, if you pull the heatsink and cooler off of a 4090, that die is massive. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like 2.5 by 2.5 inches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a small chip, like compared to the A15, which is a small chip, right? You also have to incorporate heat dissipation. That's why they're big. Because when you're pulling 400 watts of power for one piece of equipment,
right,
it needs to be properly cooled or it will melt and crack.
Yeah.
Because there's, 24 gigs of RAM on the 4090.
Yeah.
So that's 6 4-gig chips or 3 8-gig chips. I don't know how it's split up on the 4090.
And I bet part of the bigger case is just to add another fan. Like, just to have more cooling.
Yeah,
on
it's
that
cooling.
card.
That's what it is. It's for cooling. That's why graphics cards have just exponentially gotten bigger.
You could probably make a 4090 pretty small. Like, if you just took all the essential components and crunched them down.
Yeah, if you water cooled it.
Yeah.
Then it
Good
would
luck.
be, because a 4090 I think is like most are like 2 to 3 inches thick and almost 8 inches long, maybe even 12. But it's really just cooling, because before, on little 5-watt cards from like early 2000s, it was plastic heat sinks with a fan.
Right.
5 watts. That's all it needs. Like, you can run an Intel Celeron that pulls 3 to 5 watts of power with no heatsink.
Now your RGB lights pull 5 watts.
Right. And your 4090 pulls 400, which is the maximum capacity of some power supplies. So that's 650. So you need to be able to properly cool 400 watts of power.
Which is not easy.
Which is not easy. So they have to make massive heat sinks to dissipate the heat, and then fans to get rid of the dissipated heat to keep cooling it. Because the heat draw, it's physics.
Yeah.
Like, the heat, more power equals more heat.
Could you make a 4090 smaller? Yeah.
100%.
You could run that thing for
You could boot a game up.
Yeah.
And that's about it. The game would crash.
You'd throttle so hard.
No, you wouldn't throttle. The game wouldn't run. Like the second graphics cards work is the drivers will shut the game off or shut the computer off if the temperature reaches a certain threshold to protect it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why your phone, if it's left outside, will say, hey, don't use your phone.
Screen brightness turns all the way down, becomes less responsive.
Because it gets hot, and it's not actively cooled. It's passively cooled. I don't even think it's cooled, is it? There's no heatsink on there, is there? Or it's like that metal shielding plate or whatever.
There's a heatsink, but it's kind of...
It's a metal plate with no thermal conduct, like no thermal, yeah. So it can't pull a lot of power like that. That's why phones aren't massively powerful compared to a 4090.
Right.
Because it can't pull that power and be cooled. Like Asus has their ROG phone with an active fan cooling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to rabbit hole here, but it's cooling.
Let me just say one thing about the phones too, for anyone listening. If you're charging your phone, by the way, leave the screen facing up because the heat from charging the phone leaves via your screen.
Right.
So if you're charging your phone and it's overheating, flip it up and let the screen face upwards.
And maybe just like put it under a fan or something, like your ceiling fan.
Useful tech tip. And do not charge your phone outside. That will lead to much throttling.
Right. I think the 4090s look good. I think they're big, and I think it looks good. But you can water cool it, which also looks good if you do it right.
And anyone who really cares about performance is not going to care that it's a bigger card.
Right. Then they have a big computer that's water cooled anyways.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, actually.
This is from Luke Lodge. Why does Cole eat frozen bagels?
Okay, I don't eat the
bagels
frozen.
Said that in one episode. We said we're going to take a bagel break.
So Andrew's family freezes their bagel or puts it in the fridge, right? I don't know why, but that just makes it so much fresher when you toast it.
So why does Cole eat frozen bagels? For freshness.
Because they're good.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Yes, great question.
This one's from Luke Borsier. This is the last one. Where do y'all see the podcast going after high school?
Well, we're a year apart. So Andrew graduates this year. I graduate next year. Well, like year after next.
Calm down, though. We're not stopping this.
We're not stopping. So it might...
Something pretty drastic would have to happen for us to stop doing this. The plan as of right now is to just record an episode every week.
It might be in person. Like we might do it in the same place. We might just do it online.
We will stop doing this when we genuinely have no passion for doing this.
No passion, no time, no money. Really. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
Until that happens...
We'll keep doing it, like
weekly episodes. We will do this at least until we get to an Apple event.
At least.
That's the end goal.
That's the goal. And we're not going to stop if we go to the Apple event.
But yeah, because then we have to cover it.
Right.
All that stuff.
We're fairly close to another substantial marker in a year of doing this.
Right.
I don't remember what episode it was, but our 500 listens was an accomplishment for us.
Yeah, and we've
exceeded that
to the next milestone a lot quicker than we got to the first 500. So. With that, we would like to thank a couple people. So, for our 1 year, we'd like to thank our parents and families for accommodating this,
right?
For going out of their way to drive us places before we got our licenses, for letting us use a room in their house for a podcast studio.
Sorry,
and for supporting all of the podcast endeavors. We'd like to thank every single person who has listened to any of the episodes.
Even you guys from...
Even if you've listened to just one episode.
Even the people from Malaysia, Netherlands, Taiwan, Germany, France, Brazil, South Africa, Australia, Portugal, India, Ghana, Belarus, and the UK. We thank you.
All of you who have listened who don't live in America. Hello. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the Complete Backyard for their amazing outdoor living spaces.
And their design and build quality.
Yes, superb.
Yes.
For a consultation, you can go to thecompletebackyard.com.
Exactly.
And finally, we would like to thank Luke Lodge. Luke has listened to every single one of our episodes.
At least 3 times.
At least one time. He listens to it day one. He's our first listen on the app. In the morning at like 8 o'clock, we'll open our stat app and we'll have one play after like 30 minutes of it being posted.
Right.
And it's Luke Lodge. So Luke, thank you very much.
Thanks, Luke. It takes so long to scroll from the top to the bottom of our little episodes section on.
Yeah. 38
Anchor.
episodes. It has been fun.
It has been fun, but we're going to keep going.
Here's to the next year. With that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would just like to chat,
or send us a Vision Pro.
or send us a Vision Pro, you can reach out on Twitter. I'm at UtterlyDrew.
And I'm at ColeWW
And we will see you next week.
But one more thing. If you need a consultation for the complete backyard.
Yes.
If you want an outdoor spa, pergola, pool, outdoor living space, you can go to thecompletebackyard.com. Thank
Bye,
you guys.